So what is a fidget cube, I hear you ask? Well, it's one of these. It's a little toy to play with. You have these tumbler keys that go like that, and there's ball bearing which kind of revolves around. It's just a kind of nice thing to play with, really. Got a little rocker switch there, thing that just spins round and round. Pointless, totally pointless. And a little kind of area just to feel. And here's like a little mini game pad, and here's just some little buttons to press, and it's just for people who like fidgeting things, a bit like fidget spinners. So how do we draw this? Well, I am going to choose an angle. I think probably something like that. That's what I'm going to draw. So it is a box. It is a cube. Fidget cube. So let me think, how are we going to do this? So we want to kind of rough out the shape of a cube. So that feels about the kind of size that I want to do it. And then we have various things going on. So for a start, the corners are curved, so we'll want to just kind of curve those corners, and here we'll want to find kind of the middle so that we can imagine there's another thing there going on there, and that's sort of center. So imagine an axis going right the way through the middle. Here you will have this kind of little paddle kind of thing sticking out. We're not going to see any of it, but it's just to kind of help us get the feel of where it is. So it's going to be something like that there, and that has this little kind of curved thing to it there. Here we have, imagine a line going straight the way across. So if we do that, then we know in this half here and across the middle, we want to kind of make a hole first of all. So that's where the ball bearing will be sticking out from, and then that will just be popping out a little bit above it. Behind it we have these 3 tumblers, which are going to be kind of like that. And then on the front here we got these kind of 5 buttons. I'm trying to think of the word. I was going to call them pressers. Buttons, pressers. We call in our family as the TV remote control. We call that a presser. And so imagine these are the holes that the pressers are going to be coming out of, the buttons. There I go again. And we got this kind of angle following this angle here. So each of these would be sticking out a little bit like that. And then we got a kind of a thickness. So it's not that thick, but if you kind of so we're kind of making like a disc sticking out on the top like that. And then they're slightly rounded as well. So let's try and ink this in and see what we get. So I'm going to start with this disc because this is the thing that is nearest to us. And this needs to be this kind of ellipse shape. It sort of just curls over. So what I'm going to do is, if I start round about there, then I'm going to draw, and then just let that kind of dot into nothingness. And then we want a kind of a little bit extra, just sort of coming around for kind of thickness there. I'm going to draw that part there and bring this down, and that will curve around just underneath. I'm going to do this ball bearing part. So that's just kind of sticking up around there. And then we're going to need a little bit of the hole that it's sticking out of. It's just going to be slightly bigger. And let's put a little bit of shininess there and a bit of shading there. And now these are going to be quite tricky. So I'm just going to draw these kind of little L shapes to start with. And then I'm going to go wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And then we go wiggle, wiggle, wiggle across, kind of like that. So there'll be wiggle, 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 and then draw some little lines across. It's not perfect, but I think it certainly gives the idea of what's going on. And then we need a kind of depth behind it, the hole that they're kind of based in. Now here we want to do around this side, but then it must be slightly straighter on the sides like that. And then we can kind of show that there's a kind of a thickness to it as well. So slightly straight, around, slightly straight and around. Slightly straight, around, slightly straight and around. Now if you really like drawing, make sure you subscribe to the Shoo Rayner Drawing Channel and keep coming back every week where I do more drawing stuff. And I tell stories, I do all sorts of stuff, so make sure you are subscribed. And I'll see you on the next video. Right, there we go. The holes are just slightly bigger, so I think we might just kind of add a little bit extra kind of around that side. And then let's carry on with the cube, cutting off the corners, rounding off the corners of this cube. And we can bring that down to there. Now when you're sure that the ink is dry, then you can erase the pencil lines. And incidentally, if you like this kind of drawing, go and see my other channel, Draw Stuff Real Easy, where I do lots more of this kind of drawing. Now I've got my brush pen and I'm just going to very, very simply, I'm going to put some shade in here. I'm going to let it kind of fade at the edges, so I'm just kind of adding a bit of water there. So I've got no colour on the brush, I'm just letting the brush kind of flow like that. So that will kind of give an edge there. And then we're going to want a bit more shade underneath the paddle thing there. And I think we might get a little bit of sort of shade just on the edges at the back there, maybe. And possibly a bit more here. But I'm going to let this kind of really fade. So I'm cleaning my brush and just kind of working that kind of grey colour into nothingness, so that we've got most of it down at the bottom there. And then we're going to want a little bit of sort of shadow around underneath it. And again, I'm cleaning my brush, so there's a little squeeze on the handles, so sort of in a dib dab, that cleans the brush. And then I'm just going to make it slightly darker there, so I'm just putting slightly darker colour to flow into it. And I think we can make that slightly stronger. I always say with watercolour that you're using the light source is the white of the page. So you are putting kind of like transparent glazes of colour over a light source, like filters on a kind of a theatre light. So that's kind of what you're doing. Imagine the light coming through from the paper, that being a light source, and then if we did that and something like that, I think that's all I'm going to do there. And then here again we've got these funny little ratchet wheels, and here we want to come around, and then we want to leave a little bit of shininess on the edge there like that, and then that can come around, a little bit of shininess just there. What we need to do now is I need that to be a more of a grey, really. Didn't clean my brush quite enough, so let's get some grey. And then we're going to put that there around the ball bearing that's set in there. And I feel I need to put a little more kind of blue in around there, and maybe a bit more in underneath there. Well, I'm going to leave it just that. And there you go, how to draw a fidget cube. Thanks for watching, and you can support this channel and get so much more on my Patreon page. Click to find out more. Make sure you are subscribed to the Shoo Rayner Drawing Channel on YouTube, and in the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now, bye bye.